It was supposed to be just another weekend night in a quiet town. But what unfolded shocked not only the community, it sent shivers across the nation. Imagine this: a group of young adults walks into a bar. They are laughing, ordering drinks, and taking selfies. To anyone watching, they look like friends enjoying themselves. But hidden behind the smiles and the music, a chilling truth lingers. Just hours earlier, these same individuals had taken part in an unspeakable act of violence. They had committed murder. And instead of hiding, instead of grieving, instead of even pretending to show remorse, they celebrated. They drank. They danced. They toasted to their crime. The story of this case isn't just about the brutality of the act itself. It's about what came after. The shocking psychology of those who kill, and then revel in it as if they've achieved something worth celebrating. And tonight, we take you deep inside this disturbing case. How the murder was planned, how it unfolded, and why CCTV footage from a bar, meant only to capture a night of fun, would instead reveal the most chilling aftermath imaginable. Before we dive into the crime, we need to know who the victim was. Every true crime story isn't just about the perpetrators. It's about the life that was cut short. Her name was Emily Carter. She was 24 years old, a nursing student with a bright future. Emily was described by friends as caring, ambitious, and deeply compassionate. Someone who spent her free time volunteering at shelters and tutoring children. She had no idea that the people she trusted would become her greatest danger. Emily's circle of friends included a few people she'd known since high school. Among them were Ryan, Melissa, and Jason. On the surface, they appeared close. But beneath the friendship, jealousy and resentment simmered. Emily's successes, her good grades, her popularity, even her kindness, were twisted into reasons for bitterness. And that bitterness would soon become deadly. The plan to hurt Emily didn't come overnight. It started with subtle digs, mocking comments, and whispers behind her back. Melissa often complained that Emily thought she was better than everyone else. Ryan resented how Emily always drew attention without trying. And Jason, he was quietly infatuated with Emily, an affection that quickly turned into rage when she rejected him. What began as toxic jealousy evolved into dangerous obsession. Instead of walking away, they fed each other's anger. The group dynamic became a breeding ground for violence. This is where the story shifts from ordinary rivalry into something darker. Late-night conversations turned into cruel jokes. Those jokes became fantasies. And eventually, fantasies turned into planning. It was a Friday evening when Emily was invited out. Melissa texted her, saying a few friends were getting together for a small house party. Emily, ever trusting, agreed to come. When she arrived, the atmosphere was strange. The music was low, the laughter forced. At some point, Emily noticed the way Ryan and Jason exchanged glances. She even joked nervously, "What's with you guys tonight?" But there would be no laughter. At some point during the night, the group lured Emily outside. A confrontation escalated. Words became shouts. Then violence erupted. The details are graphic, but what we can say is that Emily never made it home. Her so-called friends, fueled by rage and jealousy, took her life in a moment of cruelty that can never be undone. And what did they do next? They didn't run. They didn't panic. Instead, they celebrated. Hours after the crime, Ryan, Melissa, and Jason walked into a local bar. The music was loud, the crowd was buzzing, and the drinks flowed. CCTV cameras captured everything. The footage showed them laughing, clinking glasses, and dancing. At one point, Jason even raised his drink in a mock toast. To anyone else, it looked like normal fun. But to investigators reviewing the tape later, it was horrifying. They weren't just out enjoying themselves. They were celebrating what they had done. They carried themselves with the confidence of people who thought they had gotten away with it. But they were wrong. Meanwhile, Emily's family grew concerned when she didn't return home. Her phone went unanswered. Messages went unread. By morning, panic had set in. A missing person report was filed. Volunteers and police began searching the area. And just a day later, Emily's body was discovered near a wooded path not far from where she had last been seen. The discovery devastated the community. A vibrant young woman, gone. Her parents collapsed in grief. Her friends sobbed. But among those who pretended to mourn were the very people responsible. They even attended vigils. They even posted condolences online, all while knowing the truth. In many cases, killers hide, afraid of being caught. But here, arrogance was their downfall. Police canvassed the area, collecting surveillance footage from businesses near where Emily had last been seen. That's when investigators discovered the chilling bar footage. There they were, Ryan, Melissa, Jason. Hours after Emily's murder, they weren't shaken or afraid. They were partying. The footage became a key turning point. It showed not only a timeline, but also the disturbing lack of remorse. Prosecutors would later argue that the celebration revealed a twisted triumph, a chilling insight into their mindset. Detectives began piecing the case together. Phone records placed the suspects near the scene. Witnesses recalled seeing Emily with them that night. Forensic evidence tied them directly to the crime. Still, the trio believed they could outsmart investigators. They stuck to their stories, claiming Emily left the party on her own. But the evidence was mounting, and the CCTV footage was damning. Eventually, their alibis began to crumble. Police made their move. One by one, the suspects were arrested. Jason was picked up first, shaken but still defiant. Melissa was next, trying to maintain her composure but breaking down in the interrogation room. Ryan attempted to act indifferent, claiming innocence, but the evidence was overwhelming. The community was stunned. The very friends who mourned at vigils were now behind bars, accused of murder. Parents who had once welcomed these kids into their homes now looked at them with disgust and fear. The mask had fallen. When the trial began, the details were almost too much to bear. Prosecutors painted a picture of jealousy, betrayal, and cold-blooded murder. They showed jurors the CCTV footage from the bar, pausing at moments when the killers laughed and toasted. It wasn't just about proving guilt, it was about showing the utter lack of humanity. The defense tried to argue that the bar visit was simply poor judgment, not celebration. But the footage spoke louder than words. And when combined with physical evidence and witness testimony, the story was undeniable. Emily's family sat in court, forced to relive the horror, but determined to see justice served. The prosecution laid out the timeline meticulously. They showed the jury Emily's final text messages, the party invitation, and the CCTV timeline of events. Every detail was designed to prove that the three defendants lured Emily to her death. The bar footage became the centerpiece. It wasn't just evidence of location, it was evidence of psychology. Prosecutors argued that the smiling faces, the raised glasses, the carefree laughter, were the actions of people basking in the aftermath of violence. To the jury, it was impossible to reconcile the joy in those images with the tragedy they knew had unfolded hours earlier. The defense attempted a different angle. They claimed the trio was in shock, and that the bar visit was an attempt to act normal. Melissa's lawyer argued that the smiles were a mask. Jason's attorney claimed peer pressure drove his client, and Ryan's team suggested he was barely involved at all. But the prosecution dismantled those arguments. Shock doesn't usually look like celebration. Trauma doesn't usually look like mock toasts and exaggerated laughter. And if they were truly innocent, why did their stories contradict one another? The defense's strategy fell flat. When Emily's parents took the stand, the courtroom grew silent. Her mother described the moment she realized her daughter wasn't coming home. Her father spoke about the last hug he ever gave her. The grief was unbearable, but what made it worse was knowing that Emily's so-called friends had not only taken her life, but then dared to dance and drink as if her existence meant nothing. Jurors openly wept. Reporters later described the atmosphere as haunting. Forensics sealed the case. DNA under Emily's fingernails matched Jason. Fibers from Melissa's jacket were found at the scene, and Ryan's phone pinged near the exact wooded area where Emily's body was discovered. The science didn't lie. Every test, every analysis, every forensic result tightened the noose around the defendants' stories. The defense could argue emotions all day, but the evidence was cold, hard, and undeniable. After weeks of testimony, the jury retired to deliberate. It didn't take long. When they returned, the courtroom held its breath. One by one, the verdicts were read: guilty, guilty, guilty. All three were convicted of first-degree murder. Emily's family clutched each other, sobbing, grief mixed with the relief that justice had been served. The killers showed little reaction. Melissa cried softly. Jason stared blankly. Ryan smirked, though the cameras caught it only for a split second. At sentencing, the judge didn't hold back. He called their actions monstrous, not only for the murder itself but for the celebration that followed. This court, he said, is horrified not only by the crime you committed, but by the joy you found in its aftermath. Each received life sentences without the possibility of parole. The community, though devastated, found a measure of closure. The shockwaves didn't end in court. This was a small town, a place where everyone thought they knew each other. Parents warned their children about toxic friendships. Schools held assemblies about jealousy and violence. The bar where the celebration happened became infamous, its CCTV footage replayed on news broadcasts worldwide. The owners eventually replaced the cameras, but no one could forget what those lenses had captured. Emily's name became a rallying cry for awareness, her story taught as a reminder of how dangerous hidden resentments can become. Experts later weighed in. How could young people not only kill, but celebrate it? Psychologists called it a rare but chilling example of group mentality. The trio had fed off each other's emotions, creating a shared reality where their crime became something worth celebrating. The act of toasting in a bar wasn't just arrogance. It was a symbolic bond over the darkest thing they had ever done together. It wasn't only a murder. It was a ritual of power, control, and twisted triumph. While the killers sit in prison, Emily's legacy continues. Her family started a foundation in her name, dedicated to supporting victims of violent crime and promoting community education. Her classmates established a scholarship for nursing students, ensuring Emily's dream of helping others lives on through those who follow in her footsteps. And to this day, people who hear her story remember her not only for how she died, but for how she lived. This case is disturbing not only because of the crime itself, but because of what it revealed about human nature. Jealousy, betrayal, the ability to commit violence and then mask it with laughter. It's a chilling reminder that evil doesn't always hide in shadows. Sometimes it smiles. Sometimes it raises a glass in celebration. And as we close this story, I want to leave you with this. If you ever sense danger in the people around you, trust your instincts. Don't ignore red flags. Protect yourself. Emily's story teaches us that behind the masks people wear, darkness can linger. Person with praying hands, if this case moved you, please like this video, share it with others, and subscribe to True Crime Hub for more stories that expose the truths we can't afford to ignore. Together, we remember the victims, honor their lives, and shine a light on the darkest corners of humanity.